morning, everyone. Well, at least it's morning here where I'm at. Let me do some little house cleaning to the board here, and let's go ahead and drop the memberships off of there. Everyone should have been remembered by now. And let's see what else I need to do here. I need to go over and bring up the thing. So first one in was Crew 1351, followed by Phelan Clan Wolf. And then I remembered, hey, I can give out free memberships. So I gave 5 memberships out, and I got to go to this screen over here to see what who the 5 are. Suzanne Galley, Shady Hill Homestead, Angels Homestead, Grammy Karen and David O got 30-day memberships. Those memberships will expire in 30 days, and if they want to continue on, hey, they can drop 99 cents a month and become an emoji prepper. All right. Next one in was Lee Argent. And okay, and everybody's just chit-chatting back and forth there. All right, so we're starting a new book today. We'll be starting the Scout and the Ninja series. And to the guys, sorry, but I'm going to make you cry on this book. All right, so let's go ahead and change things up here. Let's make it big this way here. There we go. And we're going to start off here with the prologue. So let's jump on over to the prologue. And the computer's thinking. I hate it when it's there. We go. Let me go ahead and enlarge the zoom on it here a little bit. Get it up to something that's easy to read here for me. It puts it up right about there. That should do it. Yeah, 200. Okay. And so the prologue is tells what's happened in the Against the Wind saga. An asteroid from the outer reaches of the solar system is spotted heading towards Earth. The government scrambles to plot its path and arrival date. In December, it's confirmed. And this is the December of the second year of Against the Wind saga. The first year was just fleshing out characters and building relationships to get everybody invested in it. Anyways, all right. So this is after Walt's the sheriff over there, and so in December, there's confirmed the asteroid will arrive in 10 months. It'll pass very close to Earth, possibly between the Earth and the Moon. It is believed this will cause tsunamis, hundreds of feet high at the coast. Keeping the news of the asteroid secret from the public, the key government agency are tasked with preparing supplies, relocation sites for those who live on the coastal areas that need to be evacuated. As the asteroid passes Mars, its trajectory changes, and its speed increases so that it'll pass the Earth about 2 weeks earlier, around October 20th. In mid-September, as work nears completion on the relocation sites throughout the Midwest and Plains states, news of the asteroid leaks out. This is the story of those in another part of the country, away from that of Walt Rogers and his friends and family, in Against the Wind, and who will struggle to survive and help others survive the coming nightmare. And now a new saga begins. And Aiden Ears in the house. Lurk mode is on. Okay. All righty. So, a scout is trustworthy. Chapter 1, the news breaks. September 18th, 2037. Yes, this is in a different timeline, just like against the wind. Michael Moore was walking down the aisle at archery headquarters in Chandler when he overheard a couple of people talking loudly about an asteroid on the news as they headed for the doors. He pulls out his smartphone and with a couple swipes had the new news story up. Holy cripes, it's the end of the world, he thought as he looked around, quickly saw that no one else was reacting in any way. Michael had been into survival training and emergency preparedness stockpiling ever since he took the emergency preparedness merit badge at scout camp when he was 11. After 5 years, he had, hang on a minute, I gotta change the date because he's not 16, he is 17. After 6 years. After 6 years, he was becoming quite an expert and even had his own blog on it for scouts and other youth. His foster parents, Benjamin and Janet Clark, were supportive of his interests and were getting into it as well. They couldn't own firearms with foster children in the house, so archery was the obvious alternative. When he was 14, they told him that when he was the last foster child they were going to have. Michael had been with him since he was 4 years old, and they had talked with him about going ahead and adopting him. At the time, he was working on his family life and personal management merit badges. When he asked them about finances, they told him how much the state was paying them to house him, and they said they were willing to give that up to call him theirs. He thought about it and told him to wait until he was 17 and a half to adopt him. Meanwhile, he said in the meantime they could use the money to get the vacation cabin they had talked about for several years, and he would get an after-school job to help out. If they agreed, they agreed if he would put half his salary into a savings account for college. When Michael was 16, he got a job at Pizza Hut doing dough prep work early weekday mornings and delivering pizza Friday evenings and Saturday afternoons through closing. The tips he made, he was allowed to use for personal things. He used some of his personal money to buy archery supplies and equipment for his foster family so they would be able to go hunting at the cabin and supplement their food supplies with fresh meat. That would help him save more money for paying the cost of the cabin. I froze there for a second. Now he was a month away from being 17 and a half. And today he was going to spend some of his savings money to get a few more arrows and hunting heads. He wanted to keep them at the cabin so they wouldn't have to haul them back and forth when they went hunting. That is what he was doing when he heard about the asteroid. I better get more than a few arrows. This may turn into the last time I'll be able to get them. Once people find out about the asteroid, there'll be a run on supplies, Michael thought as he made his way over to where the different arrows were shelved. The gun stores will be hit first by those that do a lot of shooting, and the preppers, and then archery supplies a day or two later by them. It's the archers that'll be coming in here shortly to stock up for the long term that I have to beat out. Michael's foster parents had given him an extra credit card for their account for emergencies. In the 2 years he had it, he has never used it. He had never used it. He had always been very concerned about breaking their trust, but he considered this to be a big emergency. If he was wrong, they could return the supplies later. He grabbed a cart that someone had left in the aisle and put a case of 500 34-inch aluminum arrows in it. Then he added a case of 200 carbon fiber arrows. Next, he picked up a dozen fletching kits and all the spare fletchings he could find. Then he grabbed 500 target tips. This would be his cover story for his cover story of supplying a Boy Scout archery contest and workshop. Then he picked up 50 Rocky Mountain broadheads, 30 Ramcat broadheads, and 4 dozen of the new 100 grain black toxic blade broadhead tips. He also put 3 dozen packs of blunt head tips for small games and for small game into the cart. Then he saw the Bear Archery Titan bow was on sale. This was perfect for the Scout archery ruse. These were target shooting bows with only a 25-pound pull, so you weren't going to go after any sizable game, but would work well for rabbits and such. They would save wear and tear on his good bows. He grabbed 10 of them, thinking he was thinking long-term survival use. He headed for the shooting gloves and arm guards. He picked out 3 of his favorite for himself and likewise for his parents. Then he selected 2 dozen more of the cheaper ones of various sizes, also for the ruse. Then with the cart full, he headed to the checkout counter. Okay, I want to make sure something just looks a little off here. Just want to make sure I've already. Okay. Yep. It's set. Hey, Michael, Terry, the clerk said as he pushed the cart up. Let me guess, another Boy Scout activity for shooting sports, he smiled. You got it. We got a bigger budget this time. Great. Let me know if you run short of anything, and we'll get someone to run it over to you. I will. She rang up his purchase and gave him a 5% discount and marked it for the Boy Scouts. He thanked her and was heading outside when he heard one of the employees shout to the manager about the asteroid and they should raise the prices. He quickly loaded everything in the back of the old 1969 Jeep Wagoneer his foster parents let him use. He hopped into the driver's seat and said, "Next stop, Dick's Sporting Goods." He thought as he backed out of the parking space. Heading north towards Dick's, Michael turned on the radio to hear what more of the news stations had about the asteroid. He was glad his mom had insisted that he keep 2 of the AM presets on the main news stations. The news anchor was saying that the president will be addressing the nation in about an hour. Just enough time to hit Dick's and get home. Hang on. Home, he thought, T-H-O. Yeah, I'm going to be flushing out some of the sentences and paragraphs here as we go along. She stood at the edge of the competition mat and eyed her opponent, Mitch Donaldson, Sr., almost 18 and a half. That made him 1 year older than her, 185 pounds. That gave him a 57-pound advantage, supposedly. He was a tight end on the football team. He was used to taking hits. Second Dan black belt, skilled, but not as skilled as he should be for this match. Smiling and bouncing around, waving at the girls from the football cheerleading squad. That means he's not taking this seriously. He thinks he's going to win easily. She was 5 feet 9.5 inches, 128 pounds of solid muscle, although she always hid that fact by wearing loose, baggy clothes. Her jet black hair fell to a couple inches below the top of her shoulders. She was a first dan black belt in karate, which is what this competition was for. However, her favorite art was Jeet Kune Do, which she started learning from Diana Lee Inosanto when she was 7. She had studied with several other Jeet Kune Do masters, including Dan Inosanto, Diana's father. In Jeet Kune Do, she was a 3rd level instructor, working on her 4th level. Her left eye was damaged in an accident at school. Hang on. Junior. I gotta make sure I get this right because that's what happened. J-U-N-I, junior high school, in a chemistry in the chemistry class. It had become very light sensitive, and as a result, she wears an eye patch over it. It's not a blackout patch, but one of mesh material that limits the light coming through, much like a very, very dark pair of sunglasses. Mitch had a reputation for sacrificing points just to hurt opponents he thought were unworthy of the art, and he thought she was definitely unworthy because of her eye patch. She knew this because she had overheard him making remarks to his football friends about her. To stop his foul shots and punish him for his bigotry, she would slip in some Jeet Kune Do into the competition as slyly as she could. Hang on, I got it correct. Yeah, for this. Like in Against the Wind, I'm correcting the little 3 dots to a wider space, and maybe not so slyly if needed. The referee called him to the center of the mat. I want a clean fight, no illegal punches or kicks. Understood? They both nodded. Good. Bow. Hang on. I want to change that comments to something else here. So. Good. Bow. Fight. Mitch started by charging her and throwing a left-handed feint to her right side while moving to kick her with his right foot from her blind spot left side. Instead of blocking the feint punch, she quickly stepped to her left beyond the kick and trapped his foot with her right hand underneath and clamped her left hand on top of the ankle and lifted it up high, exposing the back of his right buttocks to her left foot, which she then buried deep into it. Mitch let out a grunt of surprise and pain. He tried to pull back, but she held tightly and brought the foot up for 3 more quick strikes, then pushed him back quickly. The push is not what he had expected. He lost his balance and fell, landing hard on his back. He was used to taking hits like this in football, but he had padding to absorb most of the impact. Now his muscle took the blows directly. No points, the referee called out. She stood there unmoving as Mitch struggled to his feet. He was favoring his right leg considerably as he moved in position. She smiled and winked. Are you unworthy to continue? Are you unworthy of continuing? Mitch's eyes flashed red and he clenched his jaws and balled his fist. She stepped to her right, turning her patch towards him, and took 2 more steps as she watched the muscles in his neck tighten and his right arm twitch slightly. Then he lunged and drove a fist towards her left bicep. He planned on striking her so hard the muscle tissue would spasm and she would not be able to lift that arm for the rest of the match. Suddenly, she stepped into him, getting too close for him to adjust the arc of his swing to get a solid hit. She performed a move what is known in Krav Maga as bursting, causing okay, hang on, I gotta fix this. Got a misspelled word there. There we go. Come on. Why is it not removing that? Okay, it's just going to stay there like it's misspelled, causing Mitch to freeze in shock. Then she brought her left hand up and deflected his blow a little more so it passed behind her shoulder and passed behind her shoulder harmlessly. At the same time, she did a straight lead punch, striking not only the strike is not only the fastest punch in Jeet Kune Do, but also the most accurate. It was not a power strike, but one that was formulated for speed. The speed of which the blow landed made it difficult for Mitch to see it, much less block it. The punch could be mistaken for a karate punch that was done incorrectly. She turned with the punch and drove her arm out as if the target was a foot beyond where it made contact. As the punch hit Mitch, he let out a large grunt and staggered back several feet, and the referee shouted, "Point." Mitch was bent over and took a deep breath, and the pain tore through his side. His left hand flashed to his right rib cage and felt gently. A broken rib or two. Kimberly jumped forward in a spin and let her right foot shoot out with the top of her toes and tapped Mitch on the side of his head. As soon as she landed, she reversed the move and her left foot slapped the other side of his head. 3 points first kick, 3 points second kick, the referee shouted. You can withdraw, she said, when she saw the grimace as he touched his hand to the ribs. He looked up at her and she saw something in her eyes that told her she was going to have to hurt him more. Rage. Sure enough, he charged at her to reach her. He had to move towards her several steps before starting his blow. Once he started the swing of the blow, she quickly stepped into him, delivering a strike to his left ribs with a loud crack. It is this maneuver that Jeet Kune Do is named the intercepting fist. Practitioners of Jeet Kune Do believe this is one of the most difficult defensive skills. This is the most defensive skill to develop. She performed it flawlessly. Point, the referee yelled again. That's 4 broken ribs, she whispered. Withdraw if you ever want to have kids. She pushed off from him and he staggered a little. Mitch, his teacher shouted from the sidelines, control yourself. Don't let her get to you. 8 points black, no points white. Fight, the referee called out. Mitch took a couple breaths, forcing him to stand up straight. He took another breath and assumed a preparedness stance. He wants me to come to him. No, sorry, I skipped the words. She smiled. He wants me to come to him. Okay, let's see how he likes this. She took a deep breath, blew it out slowly, rolled her shoulders, shook out her arms. She took another big breath and walked over to Mitch as she let it out. She held up her left hand out, palms down, to his right fist. And when her fingers touched his fist, she winked at him, and her hand rolled into a fist, and she drove her arm forward faster than anyone in the competition had ever seen. Her fist from 2 inches out struck harder than most boxers' punches. When her fist made contact with his, her knuckles were a half-inch lower so they connected not with his knuckles, but with the proximal phalanges of the hand, breaking all four of them. He screamed and withdrew the wounded hand to his stomach, cradling it with his left hand. Wait. Hang on. Maybe I got that. I think I may have gotten hands mixed up there. No, to his right hand. To his right hand. Yes. Okay. So he cradled it with his left hand. Then he gasped for air because her right fist had been driven into the center of his chest like a high-speed cylinder in a standard karate punch. He remained unmoving like the cartoon-style coyote that just happened to slam into the face of a cliff, trying to get a breath in. She immediately jumped and slapped his head with another spinning kick. When she turned to walk back to her starting point on the mat and stood at attention as the referee yelled 1 point, punch, 3 points. Let me say, hang here, make that a plural. 3 points kick, 12 points to none. Winner, black. Mitch's teammates and teacher hurried to his side and helped him from the mat. She bowed to Mitch, turned and bowed to the referee, then to the judges. Then she turned and went to where her teammates were waiting. As they gathered around congratulating her, one of Mitch's teammates shouted some obscenities at her and challenged her to an honor bout for hurting Mitch. She excused herself from her teammates and walked over to the judges' table and bowed. Holding the bow, she spoke softly. If the honorable judges wish, I would be happy to answer this challenge, but I would like to do it solely in my preferred art. One of the judges smiled and asked, what is your preferred art? Jeet Kune Do, she answered, still bowing. The judge waved over the floor referee and whispered to him. The referee nodded and whispered back. The judge conferred with the other two judges, then stood and announced, the disrespectful challenge has been accepted by the challenged party. The challenged party has requested to fight in the art of Jeet Kune Do. Is this agreeable to the judges and referee? Does the challenger wish to maintain his challenge? I sure do. You may fight, the judge said to her. Thank you for your indulgence. Thank you for if I get up my tongue untied here. Thank you for your indulgence, honorable sirs. She raised from her bow and turned and walked towards the mat. She walked to the edge of the mat, turned back to the judges and bowed again, then bowed to the referee, then stepped on the mat and took her start position. I'll make sure that there's not a, yeah, okay. Then she heard several of Mitch's teammates call out to the challenger. You get her, Jason, and teach her good, Jason. She stood in the starting point, waiting for Jason to take his. He did not, and began posturing and advancing in and out at her. She shook her head and looked at the judges. The head judge gestured with his hand to proceed. She took a breath, exhaled it through her through her nose. Misspelled word there. Through her nose and waited for Jason's next start towards her. He kept his probing movements as he worked the way around her. When he was to her left, and as soon as he stepped in, she attacked. She very quickly double-stepped sideways to him and raised her left leg slightly to her side and froze there for a second. She quickly double-stepped sideways to him raised her left leg slightly to her side and snapped the kick out at Jason's head. The blow was so fast and unexpected he could not block it, and the side of her foot drove into his mouth, splitting both his lips and loosening several teeth. The impact knocked him off his feet, also knocked him off his feet onto his back. 2 points, referee called out. The crowd gasped at the speed of her strike as she withdrew to her starting point at the center of the mat. When Jason was able to get back to his feet, he staggered around he staggered back around to in front of her. She gestured to his starting position on the mat and bowed. Jason looked around in surprise. When he looked at the referee nodded to Jason's starting position with a smile. Begrudgingly, Jason walked to his starting position and bowed. She rose from the bow and whispered loud enough for only Jason and the referee to hear. You may bow again and withdraw without recrimination or loss of honor. Jason clenched his jaw and stepped in to do a kick strike. But as he began his kick, she twisted to the left and her right foot shot out and intercepted his kick at the ankle. Then the foot withdrew tight to her with her knee against her shoulder and kicked out to his head. This time, her heel struck his forehead. 2 points, the referee called out. Jason staggered back as she charged in with multiple torso punches. Everyone could hear what sounded like ribs cracking under her barrage of punches. When she stopped, she smiled at him. How are you holding up? You ready for more? 4 points, the referee called out. At that point, Jason began to realize he may have made a mistake in making the challenge. He stood looking at her as he struggled to breathe. She stepped back to her starting position and slapped the sides of her legs with her hands, but did not bow. She did nod to Jason's starting position. Jason sighed and nodded, and he moved painfully to his starting position and bowed slightly and groaned as pain shot through his chest. His face contorted to match the pain. She bowed and said in a loud voice so all could hear, "Anger is the mind killer. Do not judge others based on what you don't know." Mitch was arrogant and conceited, which is why he lost before the bout began. You were angry, not thinking, which is why you lost before we began. Sorry was all he could say as he hung his head. When he did that, she launched herself into a double backflip, landing in full leg splits with her right fist against her left palm. She smiled and winked at Jason, and his eyes bugged in surprise. The crowd went wild with applause and cheers. Her teammates started to run to her, but stopped when she held her open hand to them. She made snake-like gesture movements with her hands and arms as she brought her hands down to her waist in fists, and using only the muscles of her legs, she stood by pulling them together slowly. This brought oohs and ahs from the crowd. Once she was standing, she cocked her head slightly. She cocked her head ever so slightly at Jason. Do we continue? Jason bowed with a grunt. I withdraw. Wise decision, grasshopper. She returned his bow, turned to the referee and bowed. Then she turned to the judges to find them already standing and bowing to her. She quickly returned their bows and slapped the sides of her legs. When she did that, her teammates ran onto the mat and lifted her up and carried her off the mat. When they got back to their area, They sat her down in front of her sensei. She bowed to him, and he bowed back. Diana Lee Innocento taught you well. I can only imagine how good you'd be if you had been able to continue. But you have also taught me much, Sensei. Thank you, but I am not in her league. I wish I could do more for you. I will try harder, Sensei. He smiled and sighed. That's all you can do. She bowed and turned to find her mother. She saw her sitting in the audience, looking panicked at her phone. She excused herself from her teammates and ran over to her. Mom, what's wrong? We have to go now. It's bad, her mother said as she got up and started towards the door. What's bad? Kimberly, just come along. I'll tell you in the car. But Mom, I won. I'm supposed to fight in the next round. Her mother, Monica, turned suddenly and put her hands on Kimberly's shoulders. Kimberly, remember those books your father left you in the ammo box? It looks like it's happening now. There'll be more fighting than ever if we are going to survive. We have to get out of here while we can. Hang on, let me change those around here. Okay, but you're scaring me. What's going on? Babe, we have to hurry. I'll tell you, she said sternly, I'll tell you in the truck. And I missed a couple of people sliding in here. Vanessa's Kitty is here, and Moon over Miami is here. And Moon is at work today. Okay, but let me get my stuff and tell Sensei that I have to leave. Kimberly said and hurried back to her team's area. When Kimberly had gathered her gear and told her Sensei that she had to leave, that something bad had happened, she started back to her mother. When Kimberly got to her mother, Monica grabbed her hand and started running for the door. Michael Moore pulled the 1969 Jeep Wagoneer into his foster parents' driveway and honked the horn. He hopped out and opened the tailgate and started pulling the supplies out. Janet and Benjamin Clark came running to the house. I'm adding words. I'm thinking rather than reading, folks, which I shouldn't be doing. I should just be reading. Janet and Benjamin Clark came running out of the front door, happy to see Michael, but still concerned at his being so late. Seeing the concerned looks on her faces, she said, I tried to call a couple times, but the circuits were busy. We know, we kept getting bumped off too, Janet said as she threw her arms around Michael and hugged him tightly. What'd you get, son? Benjamin asked, looking at the bags in the back of the Jeep. Hunting supplies. Then he added cautiously, I used the credit card. I'd say so, Benjamin said as he hefted the cases of arrows out of the cargo area of the Jeep. I figured this turns out to be nothing, we can return them. But if the president says this is an apocalyptic event, we will need them. By the time I got to Dick's Sporting Goods, there was a run on firearms and ammo. I was able to get what I wanted, but as I was leaving, I saw several others starting to hit the archery supplies as well. Good job, I'm proud of you, he smiled. Your mother was prepared wisely when she got the text from one of her friends about the asteroid. She was able to get several 100 pounds of rice, beans, oats, and plus a few other things. I'm going to hit Honeyville Farms tomorrow morning if I can. Then we can head up to the cabin after that if we need to. She grabbed several bags out of the Jeep. We should lock the Jeep and Mom's van in the garage tonight. No offense, Dad, but your Sienna isn't going to be a target for theft. The Jeep is four-wheel drive, and the Chevy van has carrying capacity. I agree. I'll park in front of the side gate so the trailer isn't accessible to anyone to get at it. I think we should take as much as we can to the cabin early in the morning, Michael said. What are you thinking? Jenna asked as they entered the house. Some people are going to try to leave tonight. Others are going to wait and see what the NASA trajectory posting for tomorrow at 10. Blah, blah, blah. Some people are going to try to leave tonight. Others are going to wait and see the NASA trajectory posting tomorrow at 10 o'clock our time. I think we should leave before 7, maybe 6 o'clock, so the neighbors don't see us taking the trailer and try to either stop us or take what we have in it, or see us leave and break into the house for anything we leave behind, Michael said with sadness in his voice. Come now, Michael, I don't think our neighbors would do that. She said disbelievingly. Do you think that I could hurt anyone? No, dear, I don't. Mom, Dad, I thought about this a lot. If anyone were to hurt you, I would go first season arrow on them. That's a side of you I've never seen, son, Benjamin said, with grave concern. And there's a side of our neighbors we've never seen yet either, Michael said. Hang on, said as he set the supplies that he was carrying down and grabbed his foster parents in a big bear hug. I love you guys so much. I will not let anybody hurt you ever. The press conference of the President of the United States of America. Ladies and gentlemen, Ronald William Lepedemain, President of the United States of America. My fellow Americans, I come before you to set the rumors and wild speculations to rest and give you the true information about the asteroid that is headed our way. First of all, it will not make contact with the Earth. The closest it will come to the Earth is 60,000 miles. That's more than a quarter of the distance to the moon. He held his hand up and continued. Second, yes, there will be exceptionally high tides for a couple of days before and after it passes. The height of the tides will depend. The height of the tides will vary depending on your location. Since the asteroid will pass in the southern hemisphere, we will not suffer the greatest effects of the high tides. However, we will still have high tides that will mandate evacuation of all coastal cities with an elevation less than 400 feet. This evacuation will begin on October 1st. We should have it completed by the 10th, 9 full days before the asteroid passes. Thirdly, yes, the government has known about the asteroid for several months and has been constructing temporary housing in the central states for those that need to evacuate the coastal areas. Most of these camps are being finished this week and next. They will have power, water, sewer, and other essential services. We deemed it best not to release this information about the asteroid at that time because all it would have done would have hampered our effects. Hang on. I think I remembered something from the other book that's supposed to be in here. Because all that would have done is to cause panic, and that would have hampered the effects of our effects. Yeah, Yeah, I added it to one book already. I forgot to add it to this one here too, because all that would have done is to cause panic, and that would have hampered our efforts to prepare housing for those that must evacuate. Okay. I lost my spot here as I scrolled up. Flood zone maps are being distributed to all affected states and local government agencies as I speak to you. We will try to keep communities together by assigning them to the same camps. If you have relatives in non-coastal areas, you may go and stay with them if you choose. If you have a vacation home at a high elevation, please go there. If you have an RV or motorhome or RV, motorhome, or travel trailer or camper, you are encouraged to use those to travel to the relocation camps, or other locations where you can stay for several months until the flooded area until the areas. Okay, yeah, I need to fix this too here. Until the areas flooded by the high tides are safe to return to. I am freezing all prices, food, fuel, everything. There'll be no price gouging. What a loaf of bread cost yesterday, it'll cost the same until this event is over. Hoarding by wholesalers will not be allowed. Grocery stores can limit only one cart per family, but not how many items per week, or not how many times a week, but not how many times a week they can go shopping. Food deliveries will continue to the evacuation areas until September 29th, at which time food deliveries will be rerouted to the relocation camps. Fuel vouchers will be provided to your local governments. Now, the hardest executive order I've ever had to give, I'm declaring martial law throughout the United States and her territories. There is a national curfew from 1 hour after sunset to 1 hour before sunrise, except for those that have jobs to be at during curfew hours. Looters are to be shot on sight. We will not tolerate looting, riots, or other lawlessness. Citizens may use deadly force in defending their homes. No charges are to be filed by any law enforcement agency against anyone defending their home against intruders. Criminals arrested during the next 2 months will be transferred to the detainment camps in Arizona and New Mexico. The right to a speedy trial is suspended for the next 3 months. The highest point in Florida is only 345 feet. In Delaware, it is 447 feet. Rhode Island is 812 feet. And the District of Columbia is 410 feet. Because of this, I'm ordering the evacuation of these 3 states and the District of Columbia. These are the only states that will have to be completely evacuated. There is 33 days until the arrival of the asteroid. Now, some of you may ask, if the asteroid's going to miss the Earth by 60,000 miles, why are we having to evacuate? The answer is, this is not an ordinary chunk of rock asteroid. No, this is a nearly solid mass of iron, and as such has a gravitational pull almost as strong as the moon. So as it passes, we will have it will have an immense influence over the ocean tides. Tides are expected to be as high as 800 feet on the coast. For this reason, any area on the East Coast for this reason, any area on the East Coast and has an elevation less than 1,000 feet and an unobstructed path to the ocean is to be evacuated. The evacuation for the west coast is 800 feet. It is lower for the west coast because the rotation of the Earth and the path of the asteroid will pull the oceans and the path of the asteroid and its pull on the ocean's waters. That may change as we get more information. Now we will get through this together. We work together. FEMA will making informational broadcasts on channels, radio stations every 3 hours. Homeland Security is setting up several informational websites where FEMA broadcasts and postings for viewing only. Hang on, this sentence, I screwed up this sentence. Homeland Security will be setting several where FEMA broadcasts will be posted for viewing only. I'm going to take viewing. I'm going to take only out of there. For viewing, there will be nothing to download as of yet. I will return the rest of the press conference over to the administrator FEMA to cover more details how the evacuation process will work. The administrator of FEMA spent the next 30 minutes explaining the evacuation process, the locations of the camps, and which zip codes will go to which camps. He finished with the option that if you have family outside the evacuation zones, you may go and stay with them. But indiscriminate relocations are to be avoided as there may not be resources there to support you. Grammy Karen's in the house. Woohoo. So I didn't notice you when you came in. All right, let me get some water here, folks. Kimberly Jackson and her mother sat looking at the TV in shock as the president left the room. Monica Jackson turned the TV off and reached over to her daughter and hugged her. Oh, baby, we're in trouble. But Mommy said it's going to miss the Earth. When you are older, you will learn to tell when at certain times that people are lying, and boy, was he lying. If he was lying, then does that mean the asteroid is going to hit the Earth? Or it means that it's going to come very close and cause other problems that he didn't trust the information he has been given. Mom, you mean we need to get out of town before the riots start? Soon, we need to get supplies first. Let's go. We have to get to the grocery store while we can. No, not the grocery store, Walmart. We need camping equipment. And it's closer. Camping equipment, backpacks, sleeping bags, tents, camp stove and fuel, mess kits, bug spray, stuff like that. We have a truck, but not an endless supply of gas. We could easily wind up on foot. It's all in the books. Hang on while I get your father's gun, just in case. I'll get my knives just in case, Kimberly said as she ran to her room. Usually, I would say never trust a Democrat to tell you the truth or near the truth without twisting and covering it with manure with sugar on top, Benjamin said. But, Michael asked, I'm not totally sure. I get the feeling he doesn't believe everything he said. And the part about asking people, and the part about people being able to protect their homes, until that is an official decree, it's just so much smoke. His advisors may have forced him to put that out there, but I don't think he's going to stand by it. Do we need to go to the cabin tonight? No. But we may want to go to Sam's Club or Costco and get more non-perishable foods like rice and beans and maybe pasta tonight. If it looks too dangerous, we'll wait and see what it looks like in the morning, Benjamin said. Hopefully the nut jobs will believe the president and don't run out to get supplies tonight, Janet said hopefully. Or try to break into homes to get stuff, Michael added with less hope in his voice. Our neighbors wouldn't do that, Janice said in disbelief. It may not be our neighbors we need to worry about, Benjamin mused. Or most of them, it only takes one to cause us problems, Michael said quietly. One that has seen us carrying supplies in the house or loading up the trailer for the cabin or heard other neighbors talking about it. Really, how well do you know all of our neighbors? Not that well, for those we do know, Janet muttered, realizing the truth of what Michael was saying. It might be best then for one of us to stay here with the lights on, moving around, casting shadows on the curtains so it looks like there are more people here. You and your spy novels, Janet teased him. Actually, that's a good idea, Michael noted. I don't think that Honeyville Farms or Preparing Wisely will be hit too hard tomorrow morning. Everyone should be going to Sam's, Costco, or Walmart, Benjamin said. You should still go either to Sam's Club or Costco tonight, Michael reiterated. So we should load up the van and the Sienna at Honeyville Farms and Preparing Wisely first thing in the morning, Janet said to clarify what they should do. And then head back here and finish packing the trailer. That is, if everything looks okay. I need to go to Harbor Freight and pick up some items that we need. They should be totally safe to go there. People won't think about the items they carry for a day or two, Michael said. All right, is there anything else that we need to do? Benjamin asked. Well, Michael began hesitantly. If where did I stop? Hesitantly. Need to. If things don't get too crazy, maybe Monday we can see if we can start the adoption process. Michael, Janet smiled. It's already done. What? He exclaimed. 6 months ago, we got a winning lotto scratcher. We won $124,000. We replaced everything you gave us for the cabin to your college fund and paid off the cabin. Since we don't need the state's money, we completed the adoption process. We were going to surprise you next month with a certificate. Michael threw his arms around her and hugged her tightly and began to cry happily. That's the best present ever. And let's see here. I'll be back in a second. I got to take care of something. So, where'd it go? Here we go. So, I'll be right back. Don't go away. Okay. I don't know if you could hear it or not, but there was a one of my grandsons was in the had came over and was making noise in the family room. And I told him he needs to be quiet. And then he wanted a hot dog, so I microwaved the hot dog for him. All right, Monica and Kimberly were going through their new supplies and what they had already, sorting them into three categories: what they needed to survive, what they wanted and would carry, what they thought they wanted but were willing to leave behind in the pickup if they had to abandon it. It was a Ford F-150 4x4 EcoBoost pickup with its 36-gallon tank. They were able to fuel up the 6-month-old pickup without any trouble. They also filled up 2 5-gallon cans they were able to get at Walmart. While they were at Walmart, they picked up 2 external frame backpacks, 2 cool weather sleeping bags, a 4-season tent, an Optimus Nova stove with an extra 1 liter fuel bottle, and 2 1-gallon cans of fuel. They also grabbed all the Mountain House dehydrated food pouches they could, as well as several water filters and a couple of 7-gallon water jugs. In the food section, they stuck the foods like jerky, mashed potatoes, rice, malto meal, cream of wheat, dried fruit, and add water food that were lightweight for backpacks if they had to abandon the pickup. They did get some canned foods like soup, beef stew, and chili and beans that they would eat while driving in the truck if they made it to their destination. So when was the last time you were at your cousin Jake's place? Kimberly asked her mother as she packed all the canned food from the house, as well as what they got from the store, into one of the flip top totes they got at Walmart. It was 3 years ago while you were at girls' camp with your Mormon friends, Monica answered as she sorted clothing in the middle of the living room floor. How big is it? Do they have enough room for us? And are hang on. And are there any other cousins that might show up? Kimberly's concern was heavy in her voice. Jake has 40 acres with light woods on a good part of it. Besides the big barn, there are 2 small barns in decent condition. Jake said we could use one of those. We can park the truck inside and set up planks for table and such. Sounds kind of Spartan and primitive. Kimberly, I'm going to change that from she to Kimberly. Kim early side. But it's better than being out in a tent in the snow and rain. Yes, it will be, but we will have to make do until it's safe to return here. Is there any, if there's anything here to return to? In the spring, everything should be, not will be. SHOU should be back to normal. We should look at taking the cast iron cookware and maybe going back tomorrow for more long-term items, Kimberly suggested. Like what? The Dutch oven you were looking at last week, we can use that on any type of fire. We should also get a couple 5-gallon, get a couple more. Oh, hang on here. Let me think about this. Couple of the there we go. Water. Come on, get in there. Cooler jugs for when we get there. Oh, and a lamp oil or two and extra oil. That's a good idea. I don't think there's any power to the barns. We should also get a solar panel for recharging our laptops. My friend Casey said she got one at Harbor Freight that not only charges her laptop, but flashlight batteries as well. We should get one of those things that attaches to the car battery that you can plug other things into as well. And a couple of deep cycle batteries, Kimberly added. We need to make notes of what we need to get to, Monica said as she got up off the floor and went to the desk. We may have to make 2 trips if things haven't gotten too bad by then. All right, that was chapter 1. And now we're going to get chapter 2 out of the way. Chapter 2, Saturday, shopping, September 19th. Monica and Kimberly had gone out early the next morning to check out the conditions around town. They were surprised at how calm everybody was. They figured that everyone was buying into what the president had said last night, as well as what was being shown by NASA concerning the asteroid not going to hit Earth, and that the government was prepared for anything that was going to happen. They figured part of that was because they were so far inland and wouldn't be affected by the high tides. They decided to go to Supercuts and get their hair cut short the night before they headed out. They discussed the disadvantages of long hair, both for keeping it clean and for safety issues, for not drawing attention to themselves. They figured they could pass themselves off as male if they wore loose-fitting, bulky clothes, a chest binder, and large floppy hats. But for now, they were going to go to the Harbor Freight store and get the supplies they had finally agreed on the night before. Neither of them had been in the store before, so they were a little overwhelmed. Wow, this is definitely a boy toy store, Monica said. No kidding. I guess we just start walking around and see what there is. They'd walked up and down several aisles before Kimberly spotted a sign that said power inverters. There they are. Hang on. Let me get that. She said, and hurried around the corner into the aisle and right into the back of another shopper, knocking him down. Oh, I'm so sorry, she exclaimed as she tried to pick him up. Once he was standing, she recognized him. And let me change all these little dots here. Hang on, let me actually it's just one that's wrong. Okay. I got 3 of them and I missed one of them. Once he was standing, she recognized him. Hey, she smiled silly like as she tried to compose there. Hey, Super Scout, she finally said. Michael smiled broadly. Super Scout? Kimberly blushed deep red. Yeah, Michael, that's what some of the girls call you because you're so straight-laced and a proper gentleman and all. Anyways, he held up a finger to stop her from saying her name. As he thought for a second, Kimberly Jackson, you shoot the Yumi Hanku bow. You know me and what type bow I shoot? Of course, last summer you were best in your classification. It's just too bad the judges wouldn't allow your classification to shoot in the finals. I would love to see if I could outshoot you. Yeah, right, she said with a smile on her face. You outshot everybody. You might have won, he smiled slyly. Kimberly looked at him a little puzzled as if trying to figure out what he meant. So what are you looking for? Michael said with a gulp. We need a 1200-watt inverter for the truck, a solar panel for backpacking and charging my laptop, and a bigger panel for the truck and some rechargeable batteries. Well, here are the inverters. What are you planning to run off it? Maybe a couple electric blankets, a toaster or whatever. Just don't try to do too much with a 1200-watt unit. That's what they surge at. If you want to run some constant voltage, you may want to go with a 2,000 or 3,000-watt unit or higher. A YouTube channel I follow, Gray Man Prepping, warns that warns about constant use over to go with double what you think you will be using as a safety margin. You don't want it dying on you. That's good to know. That's good to know, Monica interjected. Oh, Michael, this is my mother, Monica Jackson. Mom, this is Michael Moore. Nice to meet you, Mrs. Jackson, Michael said, extending his hand. Well, it's good to meet you too, Michael, she replied as she shook his hand. What you should look at is getting a hookup kit too. He pulled one off the pegs and a set of heavy-duty jumper coat cables. These should do. He picked up a set from the bottom shelf. That should allow you to hook up your truck battery and another truck or battery and get full amperage use. What about solar panels? Well, if you want to run anything of significant wattage, you want at least this 100-watt system. Then he whispered, if you have the time, I would order the Renogy 200-watt monocrystalline solar kit from Amazon for a little more than what this is. What this costs, you'll get a better charge controller and 2 times the power, and it only takes 2 days to get here. And sometimes they're on Prime for next day delivery. I'm not sure we have time, she grumbled, and then in a more excited voice, I see you have a small charger. Is that what I need for my laptop? No, this is just for charging flashlight batteries. It's super cheap, which is why I'm getting it for my MP3 batteries, player batteries. If you want one to charge your laptop, they have the Jackery portable power station Explorer 500 with a 518 watt-hour lithium battery. It weighs about 13.3 pounds. That's a bit heavy for my backpack if we have to abandon the truck, Kimberly sighed. Okay, but weight equals power and runtime. Archery headquarters has the EcoFlow River 3. It's a hang on here, 300. I left the word out, 3HUN. It's a 300 watt portable station with a 245 watt hour lithium iron phosphate battery. And it comes with a folding 45 watt panel. It's 10.5 pounds, but it includes the solar panels, which most units don't have. And you get it until you get over $1,000. Thanks for the advice. I think that should work good for where we. Kimberly, Monica interrupted sharply. Mom, I wasn't going to say where, Kimberly retorted. Michael looked around and leaned close and whispered, "Don't worry, I'm not trying to find out where you're going to hide. My foster parents are heading out to our cabin up north tomorrow with a load of supplies. So I understand how you feel about your safety." Kimberly looked at her mom and said, "We can trust Super Scout. He can help us." Then turned back to Michael, but he was holding up his hand. "We can talk outside." He helped them load one of the 100-watt panels kits into their cart and followed them to the cashier. After they each paid for their purchases, Michael helped them load their stuff into the pickup. Kimberly looked around to make sure no one was listening. "We're heading to my mom's cousin's farm near the New Mexico border, along with several other cousins. We have one of the barns to stay in, and your help would be appreciated." Monica glared at Kimberly. Michael smiled and chuckled. I'll keep it in mind. We have 130 acres up in a place up across the Utah border. If you can't get to your cousins or you need a place to leave that area," he paused as he wrote some numbers on a piece of paper and handed it to her. "This is the ham radio frequency that we will be monitoring and my number. You and your mom are welcome to come join us up there. Just don't share this with anyone else. We have a couple extra bedrooms, but no barns." Michael looked shocked at her question. "I didn't know your mom remarried after your father died." "I didn't." Monica looked sternly at Kimberly. "How'd you know my father died?" Kimberly looked at Michael questionably. "You're kind of famous in certain circles. You're the samurai daughter of Major Jackson, hero." She put two fingers to his lips. "He wasn't a hero. He was just doing a job. He was just doing his job, and I lost him for it." I'm going to change that I to we. "And we lost him for it." Her eyes showed sudden sadness that he didn't see before. "I'm so sorry I brought it up," Michael said softly. "I should have known better." "That's okay. I'm the one that brought him up." "Well, we need to go to Costco," Monica said. "And archery headquarters," Kimberly added. "Yeah, I got to go get some more stuff and head back home to pack up the trailer. I hope we meet later and everything is okay," Michael said half-heartedly. "See ya. Bye," Kimberly. Hang on, let me make that look better here. "See ya. Bye." Kimberly flashed him a big smile and with a twinkle in her eyes. Mike walked over to his Jeep, to his 1969 Jeep Wagoneer, and climbed in. He waved to him as they drove past. He started the Jeep and his cell phone pinged that he had a text message. He pulled it out and read it. "Nice ride. Cousin's farm near Alpine on U.S. Route 191. GPS to follow when I get it." Okay. The prisoner lay on the floor and tried to listen to what his captors were saying. They were getting more agitated as they talked, but they kept their voices low enough that he couldn't make out what they were saying, just that they were upset about something. Then he picked up that something was happening somewhere else, and it didn't have anything to do with him. At that, he breathed a sigh of relief. He was afraid that if he was the cause of their agitation, they would take him out. They would take him outside or just kill him. No, they'd take it out on him or just kill him. Now he just had to get through another day. The door to his little cell opened suddenly, and as one of the guards stepped in. "Here's your food, dog," he grunted in broken English. Janet had finished getting what she wanted at Honeyville Farms and was now pulling into the Costco parking lot just before it opened, and was surprised to see that it wasn't any busier than normal. She parked the van and walked to the front doors that were just being opened by the employees. She noticed that everyone had regular shopping carts, so she grabbed one of the big flat ones and went inside. She headed to the paper good aisles first. Ooh. She figured they could grow food at the cabin, but they couldn't grow toilet paper or paper towels. She loaded 8 cases of toilet paper on the cart. Then she started grabbing paper towels, but stopped short and put 4 more cases of toilet paper on instead. She headed to over where the chef supplies were and grabbed 4 bundles of cloth hand towels. These she could wash and they would last for years. This was a much better choice than paper towels, she thought to herself. Her next stop was at the hygiene aisle. There was no way she was going to try to shave her legs with a straight razor, so she loaded up on several dozen packages of replacement blade cartridges for her razors. Then she took several dozen packages of replacement blades for Benjamin, stopped and grabbed a couple more for Michael. Although he was sprouting peach fuzz right now, in a couple of years he'd need to shave regularly. She continued down the aisle, getting more supplies until the big cart couldn't hold anymore. Benjamin was leaving Sam's Club, having loaded the Sienna up with more toilet paper and items they forgot to grab the evening before: cleaning supplies, garbage bags, LED lights, clothes, batteries, motor oil, and other things that might be hard to come by if things by the way that went south the way they believed they would. Okay, I believe they would. He was going home to unload and heading back to preparing wisely. He was a little more nervous about everyone acting normal and not getting supplies like his family was doing. Was he overreacting, or was everyone else just stupid and blindly following what the government was saying? The question kept nagging at him in the back of his brain. He half hoped he was wrong, that everything was going to be fine, but the hairs on his neck kept saying otherwise. Michael pulled into the Les Schwab tire shop 90 minutes before they were supposed to close. He was relieved to see that they were not busy at all. He walked inside. The salesman asked him what he could do for him. Michael said he needed to get 3 sets of all-terrain snow tires and rims for them. He pulled out the list Benjamin had given him. The salesman blinked in surprise, and Michael explained they had bought a cabin up in Utah, and they wanted to go up there in the winter, but didn't want to drive on snow tires all of the time. The salesman's face lit up in understanding and acknowledged that was a good idea, because snow tires wear out faster than regular tires due to the fact that rubber is softer to get better traction in the cold. An hour later, had the tires and rims in the back of the Jeep and was heading home. All right, we got 2 chapters out of the way in an hour and a half. Do I want to continue? Let me see how many pages are in chapter this. We're at 26. Chapter 4 is 48, so that's 22 pages. That would. I'm going to take it easy and not wear you guys out. So tomorrow we will pick up with chapter 3, and we'll get chapter 4 on Sunday. Tonight on Camp Patton Family Compound, the topic is home grocery store, and Tammy McNeil's going to be joining me for it tonight. All right. So remember, stay happy no matter what life throws at you, even if it is an asteroid. Stay safe. Don't go out and do anything foolish. Keep adding to your preps: water, food, medicine, clothing, everything you need so you don't have to run out when a disaster happens. All right. Take care, and I will see you tonight on Camp Patton Family Compound.